Hello and welcome back to the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. I am Caleb from the Old Pass. This is that one. Is Josh, Bama J Bird. I see you've still forgot to send me that Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I've got amnesia, man. It just happens. I walk out of the room, forget all about
it. You sound like a middle-aged man for sure.
It might be a choice I'm making.
I think it might be. Well, hey, in the good news, we were just talking about this a minute ago. So last week's horrible video on my side is fixed. I have now got 950 megabit, whatever it is, per second internet speeds out here. Almost true gig speed internet in my building. And you know, it was so funny. I run the wires. My wife's uncle helped me run the wire. We done all the little things, like we insulated a wall, we hung a light box, we run the wires, we finished the underpinning. So everything's ready to be sheetrock now, right? So we was running these wires and I got them all hooked up in the house. Everything's good. I come out here, plug up my computer, and it's running 96. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah.
So I got to thinking, I'm like, you know, when I wired this one switch out here, I bet I wired it as an A-type, which is more, more along the lines of old wire, and it works better. But I've got all new wiring, and I'm like, I wired the inside as a B-type. So I pull it out, I look at it. Sure enough, I'd wired it backwards. I pop it all loose. I wire it all back up the right way, hook it up, running 940 to 950 on my internet. That's upload and download speed too, man. This video, if we go an hour on this video, I'll have it uploaded in probably less than 5 minutes. That is killer. Like, wow, love it. Because, when we first come out here, I don't know if you remember, like some of the episodes we did when I was in the bedroom, it took 12 hours to upload one day. I mean, I just had to leave it and walk away. So it's a little better now, I will say.
Good deal.
Should perform a little better.
Good deal. I'm hoping mine hasn't been a problem. Both of us, I think, having issues from time to time, and sometimes it gets hard to know if it's all on one end or if it's kind of splitting the difference. But I guess we'll find out today based on what you told me. So
mine's all hardwired up. So if it messes up, it's all you, buddy.
Well, Lord willing, if I can ever get back to the store where I have time to be in there and hunt a wire down that's long enough, I'm going to try to at least get one that I can hook up when we're doing the podcast. I may not have it permanently ran yet because I'm not excited about getting under the floor, but
I understand. But, totally. I got you.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that I want to get. I want to get on though. I want to get it done because it's just going to make a big difference. That's one of the reasons why I haven't tried to do any live streaming, even though I had thought about doing that. I don't really have, besides the office here where I do the podcast from, I don't really have a space that I can do that with Mom because she just doesn't understand, and as far as the interruption, she would hear me talking and she'd be back and forth. Yeah. And so I know that I need to have a hard connection, but before I do that, I don't want to be one of those, doing that, trying to do a live broadcast. So hopefully before too long, I'll be able to try to do that as well every now and then. That's kind of been one of my goals. But
are you going to do are you going to run wires to your building one day where you can do stuff out there? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I should be able to get a wireless signal out for working pretty easy because the signal's really good. I mean, and I'll move the main router probably back to the bigger, like the other end of the house, the great room. And I think I can put an extender in the garage, and then it won't be any problem to reach. But that said, actually what I would really like to do is drop a wire from where the router is back under, like where they come up, drop another wire down through that same hole, and then run me a wire over to that building and just have a hard wire connection. That would be.
That was my idea here. I don't know why I forgot when we was underpinning this thing. I don't know why I forgot and didn't run the wires while you could just grab them and pull them, instead of climbing under the house. But I sent my nephew under there like he's, 190 pounds. I'm like, you go under there because this big fat guy can't get under there. And he put them all in there for me, but we got them hooked up. But I was thinking about that. And the way the old shed, my old eBay shed was, I had already, before I thought about it, I had already run electric and I had run internet around the yard. So there wasn't a lot of avenues left for me to run a trench up to that building without
Right.
tree roots. You know, it was going to be really tight. So I was like, how do I get a really dependable, reliable signal to that building when the router was inside the bedroom, which was just 50 feet from the building, but it would drop out because of the metal.
Right.
So I'm like, how am I going to get it? And I went on Amazon and they make these, if you have a router that you can screw in the antennas, you can unscrew one antenna and screw this in, and you wire it to the outside, and it's an external antenna. It's just like so big, and it's universal, you know, like it'll go in any direction that way. And I put that thing on, and I went from running like 15 to 20 megs to full blast. Like it was running full blast just from having that one antenna facing the building. So something like that might be an option too. If you can get just facing your building with an antenna, you know, it would reach my property anywhere in the backyard, like running full blast. So
and that's what I was going to say. I mean, we stay connected already when we go outside, like out of the garage to the vehicle. We just it doesn't, like, the signal's still strong enough that it doesn't try to drop and go to regular cell service. And that's through the walls without any boost or any extender or anything. So I mean, I don't have any doubt that at the very least, if I put a booster in the garage, that it would allow me probably to pick up from the building, because it's not far from the end of the garage, probably, you know, 30, 40 feet, you know, maybe 50. I don't think it's even 50, but I'm gonna say 50 at most, you know, between the two. So I think I'd be fine. Maybe not for like streaming, you know, but for doing work on eBay, listing and stuff like that, I think I'd be fine. I still think I'd want a hard line connection to stream anywhere.
Oh, absolutely. I've thought about, you know, when you was here, I kind of showed you the little area down here where I might build a building one day. And the issue with that, I have no possible way to get a hardwire connection from that router to that area because it goes under the stream. So I told Tanya, you know, the only way we could do it is to put up a power pole close to, or like a pole, some kind of pole, or connect it to the side of the house and then drape a wire to the light pole, to the building, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, it's really not worth all that. It would just be easier to run a secondary internet line. By the time you incurred all the expenses up front, just pay the bill, you know, and write it off as 100% utility for work. But yeah, it's good to think ahead. I tried to think ahead this time, you know, and I think I got most everything pretty well covered. I don't think there's too much that's, I don't know. I hopefully got it all, but the sheetrock, we're just waiting on trying to let funding build back up a little bit for that, because that's going to be all at once, a big chunk of money.
Right.
And I don't want to cut into savings for that, so let that build up a little bit and then throw the sheetrock in here and go to town on painting. But it's pretty nice here today. It's like 65 degrees.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like 80 or 81 at the end of the week this week, like Saturday here. Yeah.
Welcome to Tennessee and Alabama type weather,
that's
right? Y'all had snow. Y'all had snow a month ago, and now 80 degrees.
Yeah,
that's the way it goes.
It's not even. I don't know if it's even been a month. Quite. I mean, it's not been. Definitely hadn't been more than that. But
like
it's
3
crazy.
weeks, maybe. Gosh, it's crazy. Yep. What about eBay? Like, there's a couple things I want to kind of talk about a little bit here. The first of those is the fees. I've seen the fee structures changed, and anytime I see that, I'm like, well, it can't be for our good, you know, because they make it out to be like, we're making these changes to help optimize the blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, that means we're paying more.
Right.
That's all that means. And yeah, that's great.
You know, I know it's just part of it. I know it's part of doing business. What I don't like is it, if they're going to continue to introduce all these other programs that they want us to buy into, right, and cut into our profits to pay for all these other types of, you know, advertising, external, internal, whatever, past just promotions, you know, whether the offsite promotions, offsite ads, all this other things. That's the part that bothers me. You know, it's like you're going to raise the general fees but also in order for me to maintain, good traffic and product placement, you keep adding new layers of programs like, if you're not getting the sales you want, then give us this much and this much here and this much here. And, it may be small percentages to each thing, but it's not hard to really quickly eat into that bottom line. And, like most people wouldn't put a 30% promotion on most of the time or something like that. But if you're buying into every program at every layer, you're probably giving up that much before you pay the fee. Yep. And now the fees are going to be like 15 to 17% on some things. I mean,
I think the cheapest I seen was 13.
Yeah.
Which I always just told people, they say, how much does it cost to sell on eBay? I'm like, just figure around 15%. Because that's a basic average, I guess, pretty close. It might be as low as 12. It might be as high as 15, 16, but just kind of guesstimate 15%. And they're like, well, how do you make any money? And you're like, watch the videos. That's how,
And I think, there's some categories where I think cards is one, like trading cards and sports cards, where the higher the value of the sale, the more the fee structure drops rather than going up. Like they decrease a little bit. And I think that's something that, maybe they should investigate across the board. It might not be tiered the same for every category, but I think, I understand that, 10% out of a $3 sale is not the same as 10% out of a $300 sale. Right. That's the reality. I mean, it's still 10%, but as far as how much you're giving up to make that sale, it's a big difference. So, I mean, and the amount that they're making, is way more. If everybody on there is only selling $3 items, they're not going to make near as much money. They need people to sell bigger ticket items. And so I think that's something, if I had the ear of someone at eBay and was able to like go to eBay Open or something and talk to people, that whether they would listen or not, that I would be interested in recommending, like, have y'all thought of this or looked at this? Because I think that incentivizes us as sellers to look for better inventory, to put more work into finding that kind of inventory. Because not only do we have better sales, higher dollar sales, but we keep a higher percentage of the total profits when we do make those sales. And, man, I'm telling you, like on some of that stuff, if your buy cost, we've always talked about how, on something that sells for $300, that you can have a much higher buy cost and still make a significant profit when you sell it, right? You can maybe have a buy cost of half the cost and still make a really good profit, but that's a lot of cost. It's still a lot of your investment capital going into one thing. But the more they raise the fees, the narrower that margin gets. I mean, we and then it gets harder and harder to find things that we can, in a sense, some would say overpay for, right? But pay the $200 to make $100. It gets harder to find things that fit there because our margin between the final selling price and what we can pay gets further apart. And so the market for us to find things to resell in that area, but it gets much, much more narrow,
It does. It absolutely does. Well, I've got a bone to pick, man. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I want to read a comment right here. This one, I don't know about this. This is Lisa K 6742. You might be blocked after this, by the way. No, just playing. She said, you know what I like about Josh? He has a genuine happiness in his demeanor. Even if he isn't smiling, he has a look on his face that says, I'm happy to be alive. No matter what else is going on, I'm still here, ready to tell a better joke than Goofy Caleb.
Amen.
Don't I look like I'm happy to be alive? I mean, come on now. And I'm goofy. I will admit, yes, I am goofy, but you're just happy to be alive. I'm just happy. I don't know. Am I happy?
I think you're just mellow. That's how I would describe you. You're definitely happy. I mean, I've spent time around you. You're not an unhappy person at all.
As long as I get fed, I'm good.
But you have a really mellow, just, I think the speed of your conversation matches your perceived demeanor, probably, It's not a bad thing. I mean, my wife says I'm a little uptight and, high strung a lot of times. So I'm high energy. I probably get worked up a little bit too easy. I'm probably more the, you'd be the one if we got to spend time with, we talk about church stuff, right? You'd be the one that said, now, brother Josh, let's you could do it real easy, but you know what I mean? Let's just settle down a little bit. We'll get it figured out, And I'd be, well, this is the way it is. This is it. But yeah, I try to be. I'm glad that shows maybe in my face, because I'm telling you, sometimes I feel like that's a real struggle.
Oh
And
yeah,
there's a difference between joy and happiness.
much.
You can have joy in the midst of sorrow,
Yep.
but happiness is a lot of times based on our circumstances,
Yep.
and it really does require, I think, or I say require. I think the only way to consistently be happy, truly happy, is to have something bigger than what we see. Because if all we do is see the circumstances, I'm telling you, it can be oppressive. And I have my times,
Oh yeah.
when I bury my head and cry, and things like, I mean, it's, that's just life. I mean, you deal with it and carry my troubles to the Lord, lay the burdens at His feet, and just hope that, I get the help I need, and trust, because He's always done it, that He's going to do it again, because I certainly don't have the power to help myself. But I'm
Exactly
thankful
right.
for joy. I'm thankful for joy that don't leave. And I
Yeah.
hope that's what it really is that's being seen, is underneath all of the circumstance and all the problems, that there's still a joy that just don't go away.
Amen.
It's there.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
God's good.
I can be happy every time money hits the bank account. That makes me happy. I'm happy I've got food. I'm happy but if I'm poor, if I'm hungry, I can still have joy, because the fact of the matter is, we may lose everything we own. Earthly possessions may disappear. You may not have what you have today tomorrow. That's just the facts of life.
Right.
But nothing or nobody can change my relationship with Jesus.
That's it.
And that's what produces joy.
Absolutely. And I say this, I talked about this a good bit, I think, recently with Casey, and then I mentioned something about it at church. But we sometimes have a very broad view of things if we're not careful. We see everything. We see literally everything. And I told myself, I'm not a hunter, but I've shot guns all my life. I just never was as interested in hunting as some people. But grew up around all that stuff. Love to plink and shoot targets and stuff like that. And I don't use the scope a lot, but I've used the scope and I'm very familiar with it. And I said, the whole idea behind the scope is, someone that's a really good shot can shoot that deer from 50 yards without one. I mean, they can. If their gun's sighted right, they understand their gun, they can do it without a scope.
Right.
But what the scope does is it gets rid of all the noise around the deer.
Yeah.
It lets you only see the thing that you're targeting.
Yep.
And, that's what God does for us. If we'll let Him, if we get in the Word, we get on our knees, we pray. When all the noise around us starts to be overwhelming and we can't see Him for seeing that, if we get in touch with Him, it helps to narrow that focus just like a scope. And this life, man, we get consumed by this life, and it is just a tiny, tiny little drop in the bucket of eternity. I mean, I don't know that it's even measurable. And I know, look, I have trouble. That's not that's in the forefront of my mind all day, every day. But the reality of it sinks in the older I get, that it's coming to an end very fast. And I think it's in, and James says this life is like a vapor. It's here a little while and it vanisheth away. And if you boiled water and watch the vapors coming up off of it, you know exactly what it is. Or just watch the fog in the mornings. I mean, it looks real, and then next time you turn around, there's none there. That's how life is. It comes and it goes. And
one preacher I heard talk about that, I don't know who it was now, but he said basically your life is the dash between the two dates on your tombstone.
That's it.
And that dash is nothing, and it's just crazy how quick, I look back to my yesterdays and I remember being a teenager, like it was just, last week or something. It's really not that far gone in my mind. Man. But when I look in the mirror, I don't see that teenage boy. I see this gray-headed old man, and I'm like, what is my dad doing in the mirror? And that's what I see. And it's just crazy how we take for granted. I take for granted, like, okay, hey, this weekend we're going to go do, if we make it. And the old timers had it right, that when they said, Lord willing, or they would say, Lord willing, the creek don't rise, but it was always Lord willing, because they knew if we make it there, it'd be because God said, that's fine. That's okay.
Well, and I think one of the things, I know this is I don't know, it's a podcast. Let's call it that.
It's a podcast.
It's got reselling in its name, but who knows? We're just a podcast. We're trying to be who we are and be authentic. And we've already talked about reselling, and we'll talk about it some more. But this is a big part of who we are.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the old timers, and I think one of the things that we were talking about this before the podcast a little bit. One of the things I think that has kind of slid, we've seen it slide in our generation, is back then when they read the verse that says to not say we're going to do this tomorrow, but say if it be the Lord's will, we will go, we'll buy, we'll sell, we'll do these things. They took it literal. They read things in the Bible and they said, well, God said this, that's what we're supposed to do. So they would literally pepper their language with things like that, like God willing, Lord willing, like I said.
Yep.
I mean, but it wouldn't be robotic. It was just because they literally believed that when it said that, that's what they were supposed to do.
100%.
That was, and I feel like, we've lost some of that in this generation, and it's sad. Even myself, it's not peppered into my language as much as it should be. And it shouldn't be something we do in a lazy tongue, but it should be something that when we do say something like that, it's sincere. We mean it from the heart because we believe it.
That reminds me of my former pastor. He would talk about, I think it was his grandmother, and she would pray, and one of the first things she would say is, Lord, help our unbelief, help our unbelief hearts. And because we do doubt sometimes, right? And we worry and we get concerned that God's not going to be able to handle things, and we pick them up and try to do them ourselves. And she would always pray that way. She'd say, Lord, just help my unbelief.
Yeah.
I thought, well, what a good way to pray, because we're not perfect. We're not even close to perfect. And we make mistakes and we come up short and all that good stuff. And just, Lord, remember that we're human and we come up short, and Lord, help our unbelief, Good
and
stuff.
Faith, and Faith, I know, and I have a hard time getting away from these topics when they come up.
Oh man, it's fun.
But, we were talking about this last night. Me and Casey were, and I said, it says if you can see it, why do you still hope for it? But yet, we really get wrapped up when, like I said, we have this broad view of things, and it's, if I can just get this, if I can achieve this, if I can acquire that, once these things are settled and I have these things accumulated behind me, then I'll be content. Then I'll have what I wanted. Then I'll be able to go forward and won't have no worries. And the reality is the days are passing us by. The days are passing us by. And there's always something else that's going to be put in front of us like that, if that's how we direct our attention, and then what good is it? I mean, I deal with this sometimes in my own life, of course, and I see it played out in the lives of some of my family that are so consumed that they don't even have a life, man. They don't even have a life. I mean, they have gotten so consumed with what they have to do to acquire the things they want. My brother's in his mid-50s, and he works 6 days a week, works all the time. And because in his mind, one day he's going to get to this place that he wants to be financially. One day he's going to get to this place and everything's going to be good. And all he's doing is time is slipping by. And all this stuff that we accumulate, one day we're going to be gone. And then whose is it going to be? It's not going to be ours anymore. All the things we thought made the difference are just going to be left here to, deteriorate.
Yeah. Usually our families will fight over our stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've seen that happen so much, and it's like, it's just stuff. There's no need to fight over it. And most of the time it's all replaceable,
Oh, yeah.
Most of it. But, it's just crazy how we get in our minds that what's really important. But, I heard I believe I heard a preacher on the way home today saying, remember the important things, that you're not going to look back when you're laying in your deathbed and saying, boy, I wish I'd have went to work more,
Yeah, for real, right?
Nobody says that, but they will say, I wish I'd have spent more time with my family, or
right,
had a better relationship with my husband, wife, kids, whatever. And, that's all true.
I same thing. I read something, I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago now, and it said, how many of us that if we're not careful, we get consumed by those things, that when it comes our time to go and they get the tombstone and they set it there at our gravesite, and they have to decide, well, of course, it's got our name and the years we lived on the one side, but on the back side, it's usually got some words, right? Mm-hmm. And they have to decide, what are we going to put on there? And the only testimony they can have is, he sure was a hard worker.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know much about him, but he sure worked hard. That's what he did. That's all he done. And there's nothing wrong with working hard. Don't get me wrong. I think we work hard. I mean, it's not that. I mean, the Bible says if you don't work, you won't eat. I mean, I believe that to the T. But a man that won't provide for his own is worse than infidels. Denied the faith, it says, and worse than an infidel.
Yep.
So I mean, we're not advocating not working, but pursuit of gain, man, it's such a trap. It is such a trap, and there's a difference between being consumed by want and wanting to have, to take care of your family. Those are two separate things. And ultimately, we're not the ones doing it anyway. If we're taken care of, it's the Lord taking care of us.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my favorite things in this life, and I'm not like this super giver or nothing like that, but I love to be able to just, if the moment is right and God says do it, to just do it, give whatever he puts on our heart in the moment. And if you live a lifestyle like what you just said, where it's all about what can I get next, I've reckoned it, because I do suffer a little bit from that. I've kind of reckoned it in my own heart, like, well, I have a four-wheeler, but I want that bigger four-wheeler because it's a little bigger and more comfortable and faster and easier to drive. But I've got one. So contentment, godliness with contentment is great gain. Just be happy. When God opens the door for you to get a little more, be happy that he does that. There's nothing wrong with having things. And I tell people all the time, it's not that having things it's wrong. It's when the things have you that it becomes very wrong. Like, you should never have an attachment to this world so tight. Be aware that, if you're going to live 30 years, you need to be prepared for that, 50 years, whatever, but be ready to go in a moment's notice.
Yep.
And the folks we bought this house from, I've told you they were missionaries, and him and his son preached for us last week and this week, different times. And we was talking one time about moving when we was moving here. And he said one of the best sermons he ever heard was too much to flee with, having too much stuff to flee with. And I thought, well, that's true, because God may send us. He may say it's time to go, and we need to be able to go.
Yep.
But do you have to wait because you got to pack everything up? And is it going to take you 6 months to get ready to go where God says go, or can you just go? So it's very true that we should always live our lives in accordance with, would God want me to do this or have that or be here or be there or, whatever. And it makes you happier and joy. Like we was talking, I don't care what anybody says. If you're living in God's will, you're a joyful person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not, that's the automatic way to lose your joy. That's just the way it goes. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You gotta do what it says.
Any of us can find distraction and like temporary happiness and momentary distraction.
Yep.
But that doesn't do much good. You still have to go to bed. You still have to get quiet sometimes, and the distraction's over, and the pleasure time is done, and those moments are fleeting, and the happiness that comes with them, it fleets just like the times do. I mean, but that joy, man, that's enduring, and it's because it's not a feeling, it's a possession.
It is.
It's the difference. It's not a feeling. Feelings come and go. Things you possess, and there's not much that we possess. I mean, we call these things that are around us possessions, but we really don't own any of this stuff.
It's all
but
borrowed.
The things that God has given us, those we can say we really possess, and He's given us joy. That's something we possess. We won't. That's something we can count on.
One of my favorite things in this whole life is being able to go to bed, lay my head down, and have peace.
Yeah.
Knowing that if I don't wake up in the morning, I'm going to be with the Lord. That right there is worth, I don't know that you could sign the check, put the dollar amount. You could not pay me enough to give that up.
Right.
Because God gave me peace in my heart. Now, yes, there's times of concern and worry and all that. That all happens. But at the end of the day, when it's my time to go, I don't have to worry. Like, I don't have to sit there and go, boy, I hope I've done enough. And, this whole world says, let your good outweigh your bad. But God says, I've took care of it. It's all taken care of if you simply trust me, put your faith in me. Yeah. And we a lot of times tend to think, well, I've been a good person. Boy, I'm glad that He don't look at my goodness.
Oh,
but
man.
It's all about His Son's goodness. And man, he done it right. He done it right.
Well, that's because I hadn't been. That's the reality,
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
I mean, I know we look at things from the earthly perspective differently. We do. We look at, we kind of make judgments of those things. and people will hurl those words oftentimes at us, or we'll hurl them at others. This is a good, this person. But, again, them old timers, man. I mean, I can't tell you how many times growing up I heard, ain't none of us good. Ain't none of us no good.
Exactly.
That's, it's real country. Ain't none of us no good. Well, why? Because that's what the Lord said, I mean, that's what, and so there's none good, no, not one. That's what the Bible says, we're not going to get anywhere with God because of our goodness.
That's right.
But we can get somewhere with faith and obedience.
That's exactly right. And that's the only way we're going to get there. But
that's it.
I love talking about, a lot of people say this is religious talk. This ain't religious talk. We're talking about a relationship that we have. It's not, there's no formality and no rule and regulation to get us there. It's a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad I know him, glad he knows me. And there's a song, I'm not big on contemporary music at all, but there's one that's a little bit, I don't know that you'd really call it contemporary at all, but it's He Knows My Name.
Oh yeah.
Every thought that I have, every step that I take, just goes through everything, but He knows my name. And it's like, if you really stop and think about it, the God of the universe that created everything, that made every grain of sand on the sea, knows my name. Now listen, the president don't know my name, the governor don't know my name, but God knows my name.
Yeah.
That ought to make you humble and just stop and think for a minute. Like God really knows who we are. He knows where we're at, what we need. He knows all that. So I'm just really amazed at.
And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of Caleb's out there, but He knows you specifically apart from every other one. I mean, he's not uncertain which one is referenced when your name comes up.
That's right.
He sees you just as much as He knows your name. He knows your face, knows you. But that's amazing. That's amazing.
It is amazing that, because I can't do that. I can't do that for my children. My wife, I can't be that good for them. I can't be that good for me, but God does it. And it just blows me away every single time. Yep.
So, a little bit more with the eBay stuff right quick. I was going to say, we not only have the fees going up, but that new classification system for clothing is also going into effect. I think today, isn't it? I think it's today. I know by Thursday. I think today was the day.
I don't care about clothing, so it don't matter to me.
Well, but I think we mentioned this last week, but it's this week is when it goes into effect. So all of our clothes that are used are going to be set as used good condition. And so we have to go in if they're excellent and by the criteria of what each one's described, you'll have to make changes. If you got some that are excellent that have no problem, basically like a new item, but no tags, then you'll have to go in and make those changes. And same way, if it's got holes or stains, you're going to have to reclassify that as, used fair condition, I think is what it is, or poor condition. I think it's fair.
Just get away from clothes. You won't have to worry about all that. Yeah.
Well, the goal, I think, is to try to eliminate some of the issues with INAD by having a more specific, a more concrete way of describing that if it's got these issues, it automatically classifies here, so there can be less argument made, because before it was so broad and so general, it was really hard to, to really, I guess, let me rephrase that. It was a lot of work, if you will. In describing condition, you had to do a lot more work on your own to make sure that the condition was well described. But this is going to eliminate, hopefully, some of the extra legwork. It's just going to be the going back. Hey, I'm just glad that I just have a few hundred clothing items. Some people have thousands, and that's all they do. And I would hate to know that I had to go through my entire catalog, and that's all I sold.
Who was that one guy? Tekken Sports?
Back in the day, yeah.
That had, he was like the number one clothing seller. Actually had a YouTube channel and all that. And it's like, oh my gosh, I would probably just shut my store down for a month and just try to, if you was running his scale, you'd have people doing it for you. You know what I'm saying? So it wouldn't be a great old big deal to you at that point, but you'd still have to worry about it. Like,
just a reminder though, if you haven't taken a look at that, if you got a lot of clothing items listed, you might want to at least kind of skim through them. I'm not going to be like some. I'm not ahead of the game. I know Will he's been on top of his from the beginning and doing a great job of getting all that straightened out in his store over at Carter's Retro Quest. But yeah, it's definitely something we're going to have to pay attention to going forward. And I've got to take some time at some point in the next week or so to try to get in there and make some changes to some of mine, because, it's like they said, if you don't change them to excellent and they're in excellent, then everybody that does is going to have a leg up on you on sales, because people that sort and only want something in excellent condition, yours isn't going to pop up.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's needs in doing it, and you don't want to be, over representing the quality of something and then get in trouble when they buy it and, you ship it out. So
that's exactly right.
So
I'm glad you brought up Will. He messaged me last night and this morning. He's got a video blowing up on his channel. Blowing up for him for sure. Yeah. I know some people would say, "Oh, that's nothing," but to me, like, it's really good. He's got 833 views from what I can see.
Oh yeah.
He told me he was over 800 views this morning, so he's probably getting close to a K by now, and he's picked up a few subscribers too. So
nice.
If you guys are unfamiliar with Carter's Retro Quest, that's the whole name is Carter's Retro Quest, and he's got a great channel over there and great guy. Go over there and check out his latest video and give him a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe too, because he's awesome. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, it's a YouTube is, we've talked about this a lot before, but it's a tough environment when you're first getting started. If you're not fortunate enough to have a video do really well in your first, say, 5 to 7 videos you put out to, and I don't mean thousands and thousands of views, but I'm just saying, when you first start, you're lucky. Sometimes you get 15 or 20 views.
Oh yeah.
You had a little bit of a jump start because of all the subscribers you had from the podcast coming over. That helped you out. But you still had that video, right, that did great, like real early on, that kind of gave you a jump start as well. And
it passed 11K, 11.5 or something. And I was blown away by that. Like, holy cow! Like, what did I do? Because I didn't do anything special. Like, what did I do to get 11K? And I've tried to duplicate it and replicate it. And it's just the way the chips fall sometimes.
Yeah. The majority of us for the first 8 to 10 videos get tens of views.
Well,
that's asking our family to log in and using all 3 of our own account. We might get 15. So it takes a little while.
I was blessed to have Chris help me out in that respect. He did bring some eyeballs, and like you said, also the podcast brought some eyeballs, and I was at 1,000 within like 30 days, I think, 1,000 subs and 1,500 subs in like 12 videos or something.
Right.
And since then it's kind of, dead, but when you don't post at a regular, at all ever.
This guy.
Yeah, me too. I threw out 4 in a week, and then I died for 2 weeks. So
the first time since I started doing videos, I did not put a single video out in January, not one. I think I had like 2 up in December. Yeah. So, and part of it's me. I would never say I just was not able. I did prioritize other things. I've put a lot more time into eBay than what I was doing when I was doing more videos. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but just responsibilities are taking more time than they were. Yep. More distractions than before. Filming's gotten kind of difficult. I've got a video ready to edit and get out if I can get that part done.
Sweet.
But it's gotten more challenging. I'm going to have to learn how to use the schedule that I'm on now and still be able to have success doing that. That's the thing. I've just got to figure out how to manipulate that and make it work for me. And I haven't really taken a lot of time to sit down and do that. But
my problem is I don't naturally have that mind that says, we'll talk about this today, talk about that today. And you need topics. You don't want to just turn the camera on and be like, hey guys, like, what's up? And have nothing to talk about. So kind of like we do here, but I think about that, and I know I'll have content, when we get sheetrocking and when we get to painting and flooring and all that, I'll have plenty of content for, several videos there. And then hopefully I'll get back into my groove where what I used to do, going and doing like a what sold and all that kind of stuff. I would have had a good what sold video this week. I had like 15 going out over the weekend. So that's kind of, what I was going to talk about too. Like eBay was dead.
Oh my goodness.
And it came back to life a little bit. I had a good weekend, like $400, which is good for right now.
Yeah.
And then yesterday and today it's back down to kind of trying to climb out of the grave, but not quite there yet, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and the same story for me. I mean, I've had this week. I don't know if it's just the season we're in. I don't know if it's something. I mean,
That
I
does
don't know
hurt.
that it's something we're doing. It's just weird sometimes. I don't think
It
anybody's
is.
got it out for us or they're doing anything. I
There's a
just
lot
it's
of
just the way
variables.
it runs. But it was weird. I sold like almost 20 items between Friday and Saturday. Right, I sold 11 on Saturday. And then Sunday I sold 2. Yesterday I only sold 1, and today I've had 1 sale so far. I
Yep.
think actually I just got a second one a second ago. But I mean, when you have, I've had these runs of like 3 to 4 days in a row where, and it's good money sales too. And it's not like it's all new stuff. It's not like, oh, I'm listing new stuff and selling all new stuff. I mean, 2/3 of what I'm selling is stuff that's been in the store a while. So it's not
Yep.
like I'm only getting sales because of the stuff I'm listing. And I'm not, for the most part, I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm happy for the sales I get. I'm glad I had a good weekend or a good first part of the weekend. But I'm telling you, I could have a great month if it would just be consistently 6 to 7, a day instead of,
Right.
and I
Right.
mean, yeah, I would like to have more than that, obviously, right? I'd like to be 10 or more every day, but I mean, this get 8, get 10 or 11 or 12, and then get
Mm.
1, 2, sit around till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And, it's like,
Mhm.
I've sent out 20 offers,
Yep.
you're waiting, and finally about 8 o'clock when you're finished with dinner, you hear a cha-ching, and it's like it's a $8 item. Like, dadgummit.
I was sitting there. I told Tanya we had it go off earlier. I was at her work, and I said, "Oh, please be a $500 item."
Yeah, right.
And it was an offer, a counter offer. I'm like,
Yeah.
and it was a counter offer on a $60 toy. They offered me $17. I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Holy moly.
So, and
Golly.
they actually put a question with it, like, "Hey, I was just wondering if it had all the accessories." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I shouldn't even answer you for that low ball offer,
Yeah.
But I did, and. But
Is
I
that
want to read the. Go ahead. What?
is that 2 step ladders in the background there?
This one is 6 foot
Okay.
or 8 foot, maybe. That one that you can't see the top is 12 foot.
Wow.
And
I
then
had a 12-footer. It got stolen back when we were building the church. I left it leaned up behind the church for about a week or 2 after we finished. And it's hard to haul, in the bed of a truck because it's so long. And I didn't have a trailer to use at the time. I was going to have to wait and borrow one. And someone saw it and finally saw it all the times they could without taking it and picked it up. But yeah, I've been working here in my office trying to. There's some things I had on shelves, some book sets I was going to sell, and I've been trying to get some stuff up out of the floor and just kind of tidy up because I use a lot of this space for my reselling as well right now. I've got a big rack in front of me and some boxes with stuff that's not as nice looking as this behind me, But I was hanging some stuff on the wall and had to use a step ladder, because I'm not real tall, and I had to use that step ladder because my real ladder, it left me when I was a kid.
I knew that whole thing was building up to a joke. I was actually sitting there going, maybe he's lying. Maybe he
I was really serious about the ladder, though. I did. I hung three pictures and a sombrero.
So I want to. Oh yeah.
The sombrero.
The sombrero.
Yeah, the sombrero.
Oh, put it on.
No, but I have. It's we actually, what we talked about is how they do the thing at the Mexican restaurant when you have a birthday.
Yeah.
So I got it for like $2 at a little fundraising sale that's for a school, and I said, well, they sell for like $25 or $30. I think they sell pretty good, but it's huge. And I thought, I'll never find a box big enough square. And it's like, sometimes you buy stuff and it's like, yeah, I had a sale, but my goodness, why did I buy that?
What's wrong with me? You just need to wear it on the show.
If it was $100, it would be worth hunting a box for,
for real.
But to sell it for 20, it's just not worth it. So I said, we'll just break it out every now and then at a birthday and make them wear the hat and, throw some whipped cream on their face. And
that's right. Okay. So I got to go in a minute, but I want to hit you with mine. So my favorite superhero is Typo Man. He rights all the wrongs.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Thank you, Nathaniel. That's a little thing Nathaniel at Lucky 7 sent me. I've been using that. I want to read a message too. I got this message this morning, and ever since I have been trying to correspond with this person, it has gotten stranger and stranger and stranger. So I've had these before, but this one is like taking the cake. So the message says, "Hey." I'm like, "Hey, that's it." I said, "Hello, is there something I can do for you?" Because they're asking about this inflatable Halloween ghost yard decor thing, right? So I said, "There's something I can do for you." How much does 12 feet go? I'm like, what in the world is that? So I said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not sure I understand the question." Then he or she says, "How much your son does 12 feet go?" And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Then they said, "I have one and everything but my breath from the arm. I'm just asking how much you're signing him." I'm like, I have no clue. So I said, "My son, question mark, breath from arm, question mark, signing him. None of this makes any sense at all." That's what I said. They sent back a question mark. Then the last message they sent says, "I do have one of these ones, but a rip for the arm. I'm just asking how much you're selling in this goal." I've still not
You
deciphered
know
all
what
this.
I think may be going on? It's almost as if maybe they're a non-English speaker that's trying to use a translate
That's
app
kind of
to
what I'm
create
wondering.
the message. I do that when I get messages in Spanish sometimes, I'll of course feed them into the translate,
Yeah,
and then I will send an English and a Spanish version of my message back. So they have the option to try to read the Spanish version that's converted from mine, or to take my English message and plug it in themselves. But it almost seems like they're trying to do that, but maybe the way that they speak their native language, maybe it's like us, like, our redneck,
throwing it off a little.
yeah. Well, we don't speak with proper grammar. And so sometimes I think these systems that we plug it into are maybe more designed for a more proper, speech
Yeah,
both directions. And it can sometimes make the translation a little bit,
yeah.
confusing, kind of messed up. But
That's definitely.
that's very odd.
I didn't understand any of it, and I may just send some information back or something, just to try to give them something. I don't know. But the problem was they're a zero feedback buyer, so they're either a brand new user or a guest user or whatever,
Yeah.
to eBay. So I can't go look at their feedback and see if they're Hispanic or anything or another country or whatever. So I just didn't know what to do. So I was like, yeah, I'll just tell everybody what it said.
Yeah.
It's at
Look,
least
and I got a question for you. So I had a return request, and it was on a shirt that I had sold. And the crazy thing is, this shirt. So I got questions about it to start with. Is this shirt like new? Is it worn very much? Does it have fuzz balls? Is it this? And it's one of those things where you almost are like, you know what? I've
yeah,
got it listed for $12.
yeah,
I mean, you either want it or you don't. Well, they wound up, and it was one of those things that I've had in the box forever that I discounted the price on, gave up on trying to sell, and really not lose money on it, but it's like one of those bins items, that you probably have $1.50 in. And so they wound up making an offer of $5 on it. And I just took it. I thought, you know what? I'm just getting it out. I'm just getting rid of it. I'm not having to throw it away.
yeah,
I'm not really making anything. It's really a dumb sell to take, but it takes me 2 seconds to throw it in a bag and put a label on it. So I
yep.
took the offer, I sent it out, and a week later, I get a request for a return for this $5 shirt. And I said, I just didn't like it. I mean, it says it's a 1X, but this is the smallest 1X in women's that I have ever tried on. It was a little bit smaller than I would want it to be, and I just wasn't really happy with it.
Mm.
It was exactly what Caleb. I had measurements. I had measurements every direction on that shirt.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like, yeah, so they do vary. I mean, look, this extra large shirt is smaller than some of my others are. I look like it's extra medium right now, but but you never heard that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, but
No, they
that's
just
what
hit
it
me
looks like on me. It's like but it is what it is. But some of mine are loose, but I get that. But like, when you're buying and you can't try on before you buy, which is anything online, you got to
Mhm.
look at those measurements. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah,
You figure out what your measurements are, and you go from there. You find your shirt that fits really well. You measure it pit to pit. You know how big the shirts have got to be to fit you well. I mean,
You're
I think that's,
describing every reason I don't sell clothing.
well, I don't get many returns, honestly. I really don't. I'm very pleased with the low number of returns and mostly happy customers. But I just didn't understand this. The fact that it was $5, and I'm thinking, you paid for the shipping there. I'm going to pay more to ship the shirt back to me
Yep.
than what the shirt sold to you for. I'm going to pay $8 to ship it back to me, and I sold it for $5. I was like, so here's my question though. I wasn't trying to. Here's my question. When they requested it, eBay wanted me to first approve the return, and usually you just wait, right, and it just automatically approves. So I just waited that part out. And then I got another message, and it wanted me to upload a shipping label. I have never. So usually, even when that happens, though, right, it's kind of like the approve the return thing. If you just wait 3 or 4 hours, it kind of automatically cycles in, and because it's supposed to be automatic, they request a return. It
especially
gets
on an
approved
iPad like that. If they say it's not as described.
Well, it wasn't an INAD.
Oh, okay.
It was as described. It was exactly. There's nothing about it that was not described. It was a 1X.
They didn't turn it in as an INAD though.
No,
they didn't say.
no.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
That might be why. Do you on your returns? Do you have anything like buyer pays return shipping if anything in out of the
ordinary? I don't have any. I don't have any like things written up for that.
That was probably why, because you don't do free returns, right?
It depends. I mean, if it's anything, I do all free returns on anything that even remotely might be my fault.
Right. Yeah.
100% of the time. I mean, of course, that's what we're supposed to do, but I'm saying not even an INAD. I'm just saying if there's any question on whose fault it was, I 100% of the time do free return. If it's buyer's remorse,
that's
if they buy it, like with clothing, you have to be careful on that because you get so many people to buy. I just didn't like the way this looked.
Yeah.
I didn't like the color when it got here. And so, I mean, in that case, I provide, like I pay for the free shipping to come back. What I don't do is refund their shipping.
Yeah.
From the original purchase. I don't refund their shipping to them if I'm paying the because that comes out of my pocket too. Yeah. If I'm paying for the return shipping, I still pay for the return shipping on those items. Right. But when it's a buyer's remorse and it's not INAD or not anything that I've done, then I only refund the original purchase price less the shipping that they paid the first time. So they paid to get it there. I paid to get it back, basically.
It could be something to do with that. I've had it happen even on my side where I do free returns. And, if you do free returns, it should automatically just accept your return because it's a free return. There's no restriction on why.
And that's what I do. That's what I'm saying. I reckon mine are all free. I don't think I've got it set up any other way. I remember when
I refund original shipping too. So like it's a completely free return. Like there's no risk whatsoever. If you buy this, for $10 and it's not right, or you changed your mind, you can send it back and I'll just give you your money back. The only thing I ever challenge, I've had it happen, I don't know, 3 or 4 times the whole time I've been on eBay. Somebody will buy something and alter it and in doing so damage it or make it unsellable. I've challenged those. I've actually won a couple of cases. One guy bought a VCR and then he messaged and said he was returning it because it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. I'm like, okay, that's fine. When it gets here, there's screws laying in the box. The whole thing's took apart. I'm like, did you try to work on it? No, I didn't. I didn't do anything. I'm like, well, there's screws laying everywhere and it's all taken apart. Like Postmaster must have tried to work on it for you. So those I've challenged. And I actually had one guy buy a wrestling action figure still in the package. It's like $50 and it was a good one. And a week later decided didn't want it, said he didn't want it, and opened a return and sent me back an empty box. And did you know eBay will still side with the buyer most of the time if you don't challenge it?
Yeah.
Like I had to take pictures, sign a waiver saying I was telling the truth, and send them all this information before they would give me my money back. And that time I come to find out this guy had done that before, like checking his feedback. and they actually banned him. But he just went and probably opened another account somewhere.
Yeah.
But still, at least they did try to do something.
Yeah, well, and I get it. They have to kind of protect their own stuff if they're going to take those kind of measures. And if they require us to do the legwork, then they got all the paperwork they need to make that kind of a decision. So sometimes, again, it's not even that they're really against us, but we are kind of like an employee of eBay in a way. Even though we're independent, we're also tied to them.
Right.
And so by us taking care of that paperwork side of things, it allows them to build a case that's worthy of dismissing someone from their account. And that benefits all of us when they're able to do that. So, I just thought it was strange, and I brought it up because I didn't send. I wouldn't try not to do this. Like, I wouldn't try and do anything wrong. I was just waiting because usually it just cycles in, and eBay handles that. And I just thought, well, it's some kind of glitch, and the automatic label will get sent because it's free. We don't have to manage that manually. We never have to. And so I was just kind of letting it take care. Well, then I had a message this morning that I got, and it said that my funds have been put on hold because there was a pending case, and it was over that $5 shirt. And then it wouldn't be just a couple of minutes after that, they messaged back and said, case has been resolved. We refunded the buyer at no cost to you. No problem, So I don't know if it was their system actually that glitched and caused the problem with that. I think that's what happened. But they gave the buyer the full cost back and didn't charge me for it, which, hey, fine with me, whatever.
That's happened. I've had that happen too, where they side with both parties basically and eat the cost. And it's like, I get why they do that, but at the same time, it's like, man, I don't know. I wouldn't do it probably, but.
And look, I'm all about providing the best customer service possible. And I struggled. Like, I honestly, I had not had time to worry about sending that label. We were going all day yesterday. We had doctor's appointments. We had all kinds of errands to run. It was a busy day. I didn't sleep much. Sunday is all day long for us. I mean, literally from the time I get up till, we get home maybe 8:00 that night. I mean, in between church, I come in, it's pick up, clean up, cook dinner, sit down, eat, and 30 minutes later, get up, get ready, and go back to church.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't do much with eBay usually at all on Sundays unless it's an absolute have to. And that's not something that I felt like I could do in 2 minutes. So I didn't try to mess with it. And then again, Monday, busy. And so by now it had just turned into, well, I guess they opened a case over it because I hadn't submitted them a label yet. Right. And, like I said, it's fine. I'm not worried about it. I'm also, while I do try to provide good customer service, I don't want to lose customers because of things that I do.
Yeah.
Or not being attentive, to those types of issues. But someone that's going to, basically offer me 30% of what I have an item advertised for after drilling me with questions about it, and I go ahead and make the sale to them, I think I'm providing, like I'm doing a big favor. I'm basically giving you the shirt if you pay to ship it to you, $5. I mean, it was a really nice Mickey Mouse shirt, Disney shirt. They had legendary written across the sleeves and had a big thing of Mickey Mouse, like long sleeve sweatshirt. It wasn't a bad shirt. Should have got $20 way back when, but for some reason it never would sell. I just couldn't get it to sell. And so, I was just moving on from it, and then we're going to return it because I just don't really like it. It's like, come on now, help the guy out. But anyway,
I wore it out on my date and didn't impress that girl, so now I don't want it anymore. That's kind of.
Oh man,
just couldn't stand it. I had to.
Yeah, or something like that, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
So, what was your sale this week? Your best sale?
Oh yeah, we do have a sale of the week. Boyd's Bears, the Boyd's collection. It was a Winnie the Pooh snow globe with like skaters skating around. I had it for quite a while, but it did sell for a pretty good price, $153. So I had it for at least a year, though. That's one of them. It took the right buyer type deals, but
gotcha.
Happy to see it go. That's what basically made my sales decent this week.
Yeah, I understand. I didn't have any sales over $100. I had some good sales, like $50-$60. I had two that were really cool. I had one of the Danbury mints that was one of the Pentagon that sold, and it sold for $60 plus shipping, and it was just really cool, really awesome piece. And then I had listed more CDs from the more recent time that I had purchased, and I had three of the little it's like the cardboard sleeve style. They call them the digibooks of the Rolling Stones, but they were the SACDs. And if you ever get one, and when you look at it, it's got like a little bit of a gold shine to it, and it'll say SACD on the disc, and it usually says it on the back, but they are a really much higher quality recording.
Really?
And they sell for a premium price. So those three sold for $60. by themselves. That
Wow.
was used. That was used condition.
Wow.
But yeah, they're usually made like one of these was made in Japan and the other two were made in Germany. The ones made in Japan, the gold, like the gold disc that's inside the plastic, like it's very pronounced. You can really see the gold on it. The gold color is a little more faint on the ones that I've seen from Germany. It's still there, but if you put them side by side, it looks, you can't really see it as well. One from
Wow.
Japan and one from Germany. But if you put that German disc, that's the SACD with the gold, if you put it next to a standard CD, you can definitely tell the difference. It's got that kind of like your logo. It's got that little bit of a brownish, copperish looking hue to it, goldish hue. But now the ones from Japan, they're really very, very noticeable. Anyway, they sell really good, sell for good money. So I sold those, and yeah. And I sold a single CD too. This is funny. I sold it for $50. But I got this guy. It's an older gentleman. He's corresponded with me a good bit. He's bought from me several times now. He buys at the first of the month when he gets his retirement check. He's been coming to my store and buying something from me about every month. But he struggles a little bit with eBay, I think, because like it's always interesting, man. Like he'll send an offer, and he's dealt with me enough now. Like I let this set go cheaper than I would probably for like a first time buyer. But he's bought from me 4 or 5 times. So, he come in and I made an offer and he countered back at 50. I had it listed at $69, $70, $69.99. And I offered it at, I think, $59.99. We said 50. I thought, well, this guy buys from me every month. I'm going to make his day. I'm going to let him have it for 50. And it was it's a rare CD. Had like 5 albums on it. So it was a compilation CD. And so I accepted the offer. And like 15 seconds later, the cha-ching goes off. And it sells for $69.99 full price.
Oh man!
And I thought, man, I guess somebody come in and bought it before he paid for it. Because you know how to hold it, and they don't pay, And so I thought, well, I'm not upset about that, Sold for $70, I was $20 more bucks. And I scrolled down, it was him, the dude. I sent the offer back. I accepted the offer, but he must have hit the buy it now button, went back into it, and hit the buy it now instead of processing the offer that I accepted.
Right.
And so. It's like 5 minutes later, he's messaging. He's like, I don't know what happened. I saw where you said you would accept that offer for 50, but for some reason it charged me the full price. Is there any way you can fix this? And I said, well, yeah, when I ship it, I'll make sure I take care of it. So I got to make sure I refund him that difference. But anyway, I don't know if you ever have that happen, but
I have had similar things, where grandma didn't know what she was doing or something. But
yeah. And you have to walk them through it. Like they'll be trying to communicate with you. And I don't mind it. I actually kind of enjoy dealing with people like that because they're usually some of your better customers.
Well, they just struggle don't get mad. I've had people accuse me of, you charged me full price. I'm like, look, I didn't do nothing. He was the one that bought it,
Well, one of my interactions with this guy actually worked out that way because he had bought like 4 things this one time and asked about, shipping rebate instead of paying shipping on all 4 because it's CDs, putting them all 4 together. And I said, absolutely. Well, he bought it like on a Saturday, so we don't ship till Monday. I don't usually do my shipping on Saturday evening and just let it sit there, like I let it accumulate and I do it on Monday. And so, man, I got this message early Monday morning. It's like, because we had messaged back and forth a few times, and said, I really didn't expect this from you. I thought you had integrity, and I've waited this long, and I still hadn't got that. I'm like, dude, settle down. I haven't even done the shipping yet. Like, I'm going to send you the money. I've been a little busy. I do other stuff besides service your account.
Yeah.
I was nice, but I sent a message back, explained the situation. Like, we have a lot going on over the weekends, and I ship on Monday because you bought over the weekend. So I'll get it today. You'll see the money today. I promise it's coming. But he's been a loyal customer, so I just kind of took that with a grain of salt. Didn't worry about it. And he's come back ever since. I mean, I could have been snippy and come back probably harsh there.
Yeah,
and might have even lost that sale. He might have canceled the order, and I might not. But I tried my best to explain. And he's come back every month since then and bought something every month. Spent $50, $60 pretty much every month. So maybe can't argue with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Well, I think it's time to go. What do you think?
Let's do it. I reckon.
I got 2 problems. I got more than 2, but 1, nature's calling, and then 2, a dog's hollering. So that's 2 things I got to go take care of. Yeah. All right. Well,
that sounds like 2 different calls of nature. Honestly, you got a dog. Nature's calling, and you got a dog calling. Some people say that could be the same call.
Well, Not exactly. I'm not going to be talking about no dog right now. So
You're not dropping a dog off at the pool, huh?
no dogs at the pool. Well, maybe. No. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. We appreciate you guys being here. Until next time, this is the two old guys. We're out. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.